Hi guys, let's start the new exercise 1B in our chapter GST. Now before we start, let's quickly revise what we learned in exercise 1A, where we talked about goods and services tax, and there were two parts to it. One was intra-state, which means if the product is being sold within a state, let's say from Mumbai to Nasik, which is within Maharashtra, and uh, the other one was interstate, which means when it is crossing a border, let's say from Maharashtra to Tamil Nadu. Now, there were two parts to the intrastate GST. One was the central GST, and the other was the state GST. And in interstate, it was IGST, which was integrated goods and services tax. Now, in this case, CGST is equal to SGST, and in this case, there's only one component, which is integrated GST. Now, this year, as per ICSE, we will be only focusing on intrastate, which means the question that will come in your board exam will be based on intrastate, which means you will need to show breakup of you will need to show breakup of CGST and SGST. That's the breakup that you need to show. Now let's move on to the next exercise, which is 1B. There's one new concept there, which I will come to when we talk about a question. So let's start one question and then life will become easier. So let's look at question number 1. When the goods services are sold for rupees 15,000, which means the SP is rupees 15,000 under intra-state transaction from A to B. So many things. So let's say from A to B. So let me write it differently. This is A to B. The SP at A is rupees 15,000. Perfect. And the CP, because B is buying from A, the CP is rupees 15,000. The SP of A is equal to the CP of B. And the rate of GST is 12%. So GST at the rate of 12%. Perfect. So we need to calculate the SP at station A, which we just did. So this is SP at station A. We need to calculate CGST. So CGST, since GST is at 12%, which means, and both CGST and SGST are equal, so CGST will be at 6%. Similarly, SGST will be at 6%. So CGST will be equal to SGST is equal to 6% of the selling price, which is 15,000, 150 into 6, that's rupees 900. So this was part 1. SP is equal to SP at A is rupees 15,000. Part 2 is CGST is equal to rupees 900 and SGST is equal to rupees 900. Part 3, which is C, which is CP at B. Now CP at B is equal to SP at A, which means it's equal to rupees 15,000 plus tax. Now here I have written 15,000. This is excluding tax. Now plus tax. Now so usually your question will clearly say whether they want an answer with tax or without tax. So this question is slightly vague, but anyway, so we are assuming that they want the CP including tax. So this is 15,000 plus 900 plus 900, that's 1800, that's 16,800. And then the last part is if profit is 5,000, SP at station B. Oh, so B is also selling it somewhere, let's say to C. So profit, so CP for B is equal to rupees 16,800. So, and profit is equal to rupees 5,000. So SP at B will be equal to 16,800 plus 5,000, which is rupees 21,800. Perfect. Simple one. Uh, Done. Now let's look. Oh, there is another part to it. Now the same goods are moved interstate from B to C. Oh, this was intra. I didn't see this, and this is inter. Perfect. So from B to C. So let's look at B to C. GST paid at 12%. So this is interstate, which means we're talking about IGST, but we shouldn't be bothered about IGST this year, at least for this year, only from the exam perspective. But I'm repeating, whether you call it IGST or you call it GST, it's basically a tax at certain rate, nothing else, right? So IGST uh, paid by C will be 12% of the cost price for him, which is 21,800, which is 12 by 100 into 21,800 double zero. That's 218 into 12. I haven't managed my board properly. I don't have space. Let's see. 8 to the 16, 2 1 2 3 4. That's 8 1 2. That's 6 11 6 1. So that's rupees 2616. That's my last part, and let's see if there's something else remaining. Yes, there is a last part to this. The last part says CP at station C. So CP at C will be equal to 21,800 plus the GST, which is 21,800 plus 2616, which is 61,442. So rupees 24,460. That's my last part. Let's move on to the next question. The next question that we do is question number 2. No, not 2. Question number 3. Sorry. Question number 3. So goods and services are sold from Kota to Mumbai. So from Kota to Mumbai. What kind of a transaction? Interstate. Kota is in Rajasthan, Mumbai is Maharashtra. But again, I'm repeating, this year you will not have questions on inter, you will only have questions on intra. But this question, I'm repeating, doesn't matter. All you would need to do in an intrastate is convert the GST into two components, equal components, CGST and SGST. So let's read the question. For rupees 20,000. So the SP at Kota is equal to rupees 20,000. This is, I'm writing under Kota, so SP is at Kota is rupees 20,000. Let's read the next line. And then from Mumbai to Pune. Oh, so Mumbai is being, then it's being sold to Pune. In this case, it is intra, because Mumbai and Pune both are in same city, same state. If the GST is 12% and the profit made at Mumbai is 5,000, so the CP at Mumbai is rupees 20,000. I'm repeating, in all questions we will use the CP for anyone who's selling it as the CP without tax. I'm repeating, for in all the questions, for anyone who's selling it, who's not the end consumer, which means he's just, so he buys it from Kota and sells it to Pune. He's not the end consumer. He's just a he's a seller, right? So we will use the CP as without tax. So CP for him is 20,000, and the profit for him, as per the question, it's 5,000. So the SP for him will be equal to rupees 25,000. Perfect. Now, so 25,000, and find the net GST paid at Pune if the dealer at Pune is the end user. So this is the end user. Why are we bothered about end user? Because the end user will not, I repeat, the end user will not sell it to someone. So now let's look at this question slightly clearly. So how much would have been the GST? I'm I will solve this question later as per the book. Let me just explain this concept to you. So what would have been the GST at quota? GST would have been 12% of 20,000, which is 0000. The 12 into 2 is 24 with a 0, right? 20,000, 10% would have been something with a double zero, sorry. So 2,400. So the GST is rupees 2,400. So the CP for him would have been plus 2,400 because he would have paid the GST as well. But when we calculate, we are not using this. Now, what is the GST that he will have to charge from the guy in Pune? So GST at Mumbai again would be 12% of 25,000, 0000. That's 25 into 12. That's 250 with 50. That's 300. So this is 3,000. Perfect. So this is 3,000. And what would be the CP for him? So CP for him would be the SP, which is 25,000 plus 3,000, which is rupees 28,000. Now let's look at from the perspective of the person in the middle, which is the guy at Mumbai. Let's look at this question only from this guy's perspective. Yes, so he paid GST of rupees 2400 to the guy at Kota. So he paid rupees 2400 to the person at Kota, and he received GST of rupees 3,000 from Pune. So this is the money that he gets from the person at Pune, and 2,400 is the money that he pays to the person at Kota. So this is the two kinds of GST involved for the person in the middle, right? I repeat, he paid 2,400 to Kota as GST. Now this guy will give this to the government, and he received 3,000 from the person at Pune. So the person at Mumbai says, I have already paid 2,400 as GST, and I have received 3,000 as GST. So how much should he pay to the government? So that is the concept of net GST. Net GST would be the GST that the person in the middle, which is he's buying from someone and selling it to someone, he's not the end user, the net GST that you pay to the government. This will be the output GST minus the input GST. Now what does this mean? Now output GST is the GST that he receives. So GST received, and what is the, so this is output GST, and what is input GST is the GST paid. This is the input GST. I repeat, output GST is the GST that a person selling receives from the buyer, and input GST is the GST paid by the buyer from the person he was selling, or from the person who was selling it to him. This is the input GST for Mumbai. This is the output GST for Mumbai, right? This is input GST. Let's look at it. I'm looking at only from the person at Mumbai. Now input, what was this 2,400 calculated at? It was calculated at 20,000. So input is calculated at CP for this guy. I'm talking only specifically for Mumbai, right? And output is calculated at SP. It is calculated at SP because it was calculated at 30,000. When we solve another question, it'll be clear. So this is basically known as net GST paid is equal to output GST minus input GST. So let's read the question. If the GST is 12%, profit made is 5,000. Find the net GST paid by the dealer at Pune. So the net GST would be rupees 3,000. Right? So the net GST paid is 3,000. This is by the dealer at Pune, the end user at Pune. This is the GST paid at Pune. Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. The next question that we do is question number 4. Let's look at question number 4. So question number 4 says a dealer in Banaras, UP supplies goods worth 8,000 to dealer B in Agra, again UP, and dealer B in turn supplies the same goods to dealer C in Patna at a profit of 1,200. So again we have 3 people. So let's look at this. So this is A in Banaras selling it to B in Agra, selling it to C in Patna. So this is intra, this is inter. Again I'm repeating, this year you will not have in your board exam inter questions, so it doesn't really matter. I'm repeating, the name for this is called IGST, the name for this is CGST and SGST. So whenever there is a question like this, you will need to show a breakup of CGST and SGST. That's about it, nothing else. So let's look at this question. A dealer in Banaras supplies goods worth 8,000. So the SP at Banaras is equal to rupees 8,000. Perfect. So the CP at Agra is equal to rupees 8,000. He makes a profit of rupees 1,200. So the selling price is rupees 9,200. Done. Find the input and output tax for dealer C under GST system if the rate is GST is 18%. So GST at the rate of 18%. So for GST, how much GST? So input GST would be, so input GST for C would be GST at cost price. So what is his cost price? His cost price is 9,200. He sells it at 9,200. So he is buying it at 9,200. So let's calculate. So input GST will be equal to 18% of 9,200. 0000 92 into 18. That's 672.73. That's 2,965.16. That's rupees 1,656. So this is the input GST that the person at Patna pays. This is cost price excluding tax. In this case, this is IGST, input IGST, because this is interstate. But in case this question was intra, then I would have divided this as CGST and SGST, and since these are equal, this would have been rupees 8. Half of this, that's 828, and this again would have been rupees 828. You have two options possible. Option 1, you calculate CGST at 9% and SGST at 9%, or you have the option of calculating GST at 18% and then dividing it into CGST and SGST. Your choice, whichever method you use. In this question I've used this method, which is I calculated GST and then divided it. I repeat, this question is for inter. We will not have questions of inter in board this year. That's about it. So let's look at the next part of the question. If the rate of GST and output tax. Now output tax for Patna, right? So output tax is calculated at SP. Is this guy at Patna selling it? No. So if there is not selling it, his output tax will be rupees 0 because output tax is calculated at SP for that person. Perfect. So let's move on to the next question. The next question that we solve is question number 5. So let's look at question number 5. Question 5 says a dealer in Meerut, UP, he supplies goods worth 15,000 to dealer B in Ratlam. So this is A in Meerut, supplies goods to B in Ratlam. Now Ratlam is in MP, this is in UP, so we are looking at interstate, which means we are talking about IGST. But I repeat, this year you do not have IGST, so but again this is nothing but just a tax calculated at a certain percentage. In terms, applies it to C at Jabalpur. So C is in Jabalpur, this is intra, which means I am looking at CGST and SGST. Perfect. At a profit of 3,000, if the rate of tax is 18%, find this. So he had sold it at Meerut for 15,000, which means the cost price at Ratlam was rupees 15,000. Again, we don't calculate tax, we don't add tax when we are calculating the CP. The profit that this guy made at Ratlam was rupees 3,000. So the SP at Ratlam was rupees 18,000. Perfect. If the rate of GST is 18%, so GST at the rate of 18%. 18%, find the cost of goods services in Jabalpur, assuming that the dealer does not sell, which means he again is the end user. Perfect. So we will calculate GST at 18%, which will be 18 upon 100 into 18,000. That's 18 into 18, that's 324 with a 0, so 3,240. Since this is intra, so let me just convert this. CGST will be half of this, which is rupees 1620, and SGST will be half of it, which is rupees 1620. Perfect. The cost of goods, so the CP for him would be rupees 18,000 plus GST, which is rupees 18,000 plus rupees 3240, which is rupees 21,240. Please note that I am writing these questions in a table form. You can I will try and solve the next question without a table form where I'll write more English. Here I'm writing specific things under each column so that it's clear that this is SP at A, this is CP at B, this is profit at B, this is SP at A, this is GST at, no, not A, why is A? B, sorry, and this is GST at B, this is CP at C. So I'm writing it under each, I'm writing it in a table form. I will try and solve the next question in a continuous form in case you want to write more English. Perfect. Net tax payable by dealer B. So we've talked about net tax is equal to output GST minus input GST. Now let's calculate the output. This is net tax for B. So net tax for B, output GST, like I said, is calculated at SP and input GST is calculated at CP. So what is the output tax? We've already calculated. This is, in case you 18% of 18,000 minus 18% of 15,000 because his cost price was 15,000, right? We've already calculated. This is 18% of 18,000. We've calculated this 3240 and 18% of 15,000. We haven't done this. So let's do this. 0000. That's 15 into 18. That's 180, 90, 27. So that's 3240 minus 2700, which is equal to rupees 540. So that's the net tax which P pays to the government, right? So this is output tax GST minus input GST. This is also known as input tax credit. So he gets a credit of the tax that he paid. He gets a credit of the tax that he paid. He paid the input GST and now he's received the output GST. Let's solve the next question. Question number 6. So I need to remember that this time I need to write it in English and not just put it in the table form. So let's look at this. A dealer in Harpur X in Harpur supplies goods worth 50,000. Perfect. So the dealer X is in Harpur. He supplies the goods worth 50,000 to dealer Y in same city, which means this is Harpur. This is intra. This is from my understanding. I will write all this in English as well in case you want to see how it's to be written. And then Y supplies to Z in Kolkata. This is in Kolkata and this is inter. So we are talking about IGST, but this year we will not have questions related to IGST. So we will just consider this as GST, which can be again bifurcated into CGST and SGST if the question wants you to calculate. At a profit of 20,000, find the output. So let's start. Let's write it in English. So selling price at Harpur, this is for X, is equal to rupees 50,000. Perfect. Cost price at Harpur for Y is equal to rupees 50,000. Yes, the selling price for X is the cost price for Y. Now he adds a profit of how much? 20,000. So profit for Y is equal to rupees 20,000. Therefore, SP at Harpur for Y, so he's selling it at CP plus P, which is rupees 50,000 plus 20,000. That's rupees 70,000. Perfect. Calculate at a profit of 20,000. Output at in the year now at a profit of 5,000 dealer Y. Net GST paid by dealer Y. Perfect. Perfect. So output. Okay. So CP for Z will be equal to rupees 70,000. Done? Yes. What is the question? Part 1 is input and output taxes for dealer Y. So input tax for dealer Y. Input tax is calculated at CP. What is the GST rate given? I haven't written the GST rate. So GST at the rate of how much? GST is 28%. So input tax for dealer Y will be 28% of the cost price for him, which is rupees 50,000. Let's calculate. That's 28 upon 100 into 50,000. 0000. That's 140. So that's 140 with 2 zeros. Yes, that's 140 with 2 zeros. Now this is input tax for Y. Now since we talk about, like I said, I will need to bifurcate this. Therefore CGST is equal to SGST is equal to half of this, which is rupees 7,000. Each is 7,000. This is 7,000, 7,000. This is CGST and this is SGST. Perfect. So my part 1 is done. Let's look at part 2. Net GST payable by dealer Y. Oh, before that, I have to calculate output tax as well. So output tax for Y. It will be calculated again at SP this time. So his SP is 70,000. So this will be 28 upon 100 into 70,000. 0000. So this is 28 into 7. That's 140. 56. That's 196. So that's 19,600. So the output tax is 19,600. The input tax is 14,000. In case this would have been at an intra-state, then I would again have to break this up into CGST and SGST. Now in this question, since this is inter, I'm not breaking it up, but I'm repeating in an exam, the kind of questions that you will get will only be intra, at least for this year. So this will be, in this case, this will be 9,800. Yeah, 9,800, and this will also be 9,800. Let's look at part 2. Part 2 says net GST payable by dealer Y. So net GST by Y will be equal to output GST minus input GST. So output GST is rupees 19,600 and the input GST is 14,000. So this is equal to rupees 5,600. Perfect. I will give you some homework question and then I'll finish this lesson. This is homework will be question number 2. Question 4 I've already solved. So that's about it. Thank you. Take care. Be safe.